Liverpool is a city which has seen many changes over its long history. It's seen many changes in my lifetime, and many changes since the 1980s. This road which we are now on is Princess Road, and the central reservation was drastically changed in 2020. It's had a cycle lane fitted, and it's got a pedestrian lane, and it's generally been tidied up. It took quite a while, but it looks a lot better than it did. But today we're going to take a trip to a place which has probably been long forgotten, and it's a place which really should have a larger place in history. We're going to head to Crown Street and have a look at the former Crown Street station. The church on the left started life as the Welsh Presbyterian Church, known around here as the Welsh Cathedral. And while Princess Road has gone through some very serious renovations over the last 2 years, the church seems to have missed out, and it looks to me like it's on its last legs. Anyway, we're heading towards the junction with Upper Parliament Street, and we're going to head towards the Women's Hospital. Upper Parliament Street had its road resurfaced around about this time last year, and it's a much smoother ride these days. But Upper Parliament Street has seen quite a few changes over the years, and many since the riots of the mid-1980s, when we lost a lot of buildings. It's looking quite good these days, and in my opinion, it has a much different feel now than when I was a kid. This is Upper Parliament Street's junction with Grove Street, and it's a street which has changed dramatically in my lifetime. In the 60s it was full of derelict houses because of the bombing during the war. So it has a different feel to the rest of the streets in this area, because a lot of it is pretty new in relation to the rest of its surroundings, and it does look a lot better than it did back in the days of me going to town on the number 5 bus. We're just coming up to the Women's Hospital on the left hand side, and Crown Street is tucked away behind that, so we should be taking a left hand turn here. But I want to show you where we are in relation to Upper Parliament Street and the other main roads around here. This is the top of Upper Parliament Street, and in front of us we have Earl Road, Smithdown Road, and to the right Lodge Lane, and to the left Tunnel Road, which leads towards Edgehill Station. Behind me is Crown Street. As you can see, we're not far from Liverpool city centre. There's the Metropolitan Cathedral in the background, and we're surrounded by some very nice modern housing estates here now. So we're going to take a walk down this road to see what Crown Street looks like these days. This park, or open space as they call it, is the former site of Crown Street Station, and it has a place in history because it was the first passenger railway between two cities anywhere in the world. And while there was obviously other railways around connecting one city to another, none of them took passengers. So this particular railway was the first passenger railway in the world, and it connected Liverpool Crown Street to a station in Manchester called Liverpool Street. And it was built in 1830, and it only lasted 6 years. By 1836 it was decided that Crown Street was too far from Liverpool city centre, so trains were diverted to the newly built Lime Street station, and this site became a goods depot for goods trains between Liverpool and Manchester. And it was here till 1972, and then it was disused, lay abandoned for a while, and later became this open space. The original station would have been around about here, possibly where these gates are, and just left of this ventilation shaft. I've put some photographs of the original station at the end of the video so that you get an idea of what this place once looked like in 1830 to 1836. This ventilation shaft is one of 3 which still survive today. I think there was 5 or 6 built at the time. So why would this railway have needed a ventilation system? It's because beneath here is the Wapping Tunnel, and it was a tunnel route between Edge Hill Junction and the Southend Docks. It was designed by George Stephenson, and it was constructed between 1826 and 1829 to enable goods services to operate between Liverpool docks and all locations between here and Manchester. As you can see from the plaque, the locomotive which was used at the time is Stephenson's Rocket, and that's very famous in its own right. It's probably more famous than the station, but it wasn't powerful enough to be able to drag the goods and freight from the South Docks all the way up to Edge Hill Station. So a static steam engine was placed up at Edge Hill in one of 3 tunnels there, and that hauled the wagons up by a rope, and then it was attached to Edge Hill to the train and then set off to Manchester. This illustration, which I found on the internet, shows what Crown Street Station would have looked like between 1830 and 1836, and I get the impression that it would have been quite a grand affair to catch a train to Manchester back in those days, and I would imagine it was quite expensive as well, a bit like today. This photograph, again found on the internet, shows Crown Street Station in the 1950s being used as a goods yard. In the background you can see a set of tenement blocks. Many of these were built in Liverpool during the 1930s, and this one is called Myrtle Gardens. This aerial shot, again found on the internet, shows Crown Street in the 1960s. You can see the ventilation shaft in the bottom right hand corner. The Metropolitan Cathedral hasn't yet been completed, so it's prior to 1967. This is a photograph of the Cavendish cutting, or the Edge Hill cutting, which is very close to Edge Hill Station, just off Tunnel Road. There's actually 3 tunnels. You can't see the central one because of the overgrown bushes and trees and whatever. But the central one would have been the train line. The right-hand tunnel was for the static steam engine, which was used to haul goods wagons up the gradient by a rope, and the left tunnel was very short originally. It was used as storage. On this photograph, the left-hand tunnel, which originally was for storage, looks a lot larger than the one that's on the right, and that's because it was bored out to take trains later on, and it was the line which went to Crown Street Goods Yard. This illustration, also found on the internet, shows what the Cavendish cutting, or the Edge Hill cutting, would have looked like in 1829 when it was first built. Stevenson designed this Moorish arch to cover the rock and the entrances to the tunnel, simply to make it more pleasing to the eye. Long since demolished, unfortunately. So that was a quick look at Crown Street Station, something which Liverpool lost and doesn't really celebrate. Anyway, thank you for watching, and we'll catch up soon.